Okay. So they're putting a hit on my family. And they're using a sick individual to do it. The one that they wanted my daughter to move into after the baby was born, move into a basement suite with him. And that was after the baby was born, right? And of course my daughter didn't, because she knew that if she moved in with him, it would be a big problem without the protection of her family. So anyway, she stayed with the family. We know that for 28 months she did pretty good, right? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got some letters here that, he's written my daughter. I got a couple more in my bedroom too. This fella doesn't like to take any kind of responsibility for the bullshit that he's been putting my family through for the last 7 years. Technically, he's not supposed to be here, right? Because he's caused so much trouble over the years. And so when my daughter was kicked out of the streets and was homeless, after about a month and a half or whatever it was, she ended up back at his place, and he was in some recovery house. And I don't know what happened. I mean, by that time she was booting, right? She was booting within the first week of being kicked out of the house. She couldn't get her methadone, right? So basically social workers turned her into a junkie. And that's the bottom line. And so they got kicked out of there. And she called me up and, she wanted me to get her stuff, right? So needless to say, his stuff came with her stuff. And I said, fine, I'll just put it in the garage and just, go do your thing and find a place quickly and get it out of my garage. And you've seen the video, what was happening there with my daughter in the basement, right, before we cleared that out. And three times I took his stuff and I drove it and I dropped it off. And 3 times he'd bring it back without me knowing about it. And then the last time, he snuck it into my 15-year-old daughter's bedroom. Okay? He came into the house on his own in the basement, went into her bedroom, put all his stuff in there. I went down there. Nobody was around. There was his stuff. My daughter was out for the day. She didn't even know. So I dragged it back out and, put it out in the laundry room and in the garage. And then I guess he got bear-maced. And he's not supposed to be here, right? But he come crying, oh, I'm bear-maced, let me in so I can rinse off. So my son, he let him rinse off. And, but he's not supposed to be here, and he's caused a lot of trouble. He's threatened to burn down my house, and he's choked my daughter, and, he's just caused so much, he's got problems, right? So, anyway, through all that, I did the custody and I'm supposed to serve them and I'm supposed to get a response. And so, my daughter agreed that Andre should be here. He agreed that Andre should be here. All right. So we go to court. He's in jail. I told you that part already. He's in jail. So, they bring him out and he's supposed to come with his lawyer on May 9th with, through the jail and everything else. Well, since the last time we went to court, social workers have been visiting him in jail, and he's on 23-hour lockdown because, he's got a temper on him, right? And the reason he's mad at my son is because my son had to call the police to get him out of here because he won't fucking leave. Like, the guy crawls through windows and, he was sneaking his stuff in and I was dropping it off and he'd sneak it back and then he got brazen and he put it in my daughter's room and my son, he said, get the fuck out. Just go, take your fucking shit and get the fuck out, right? So he threw this stuff out in the grass. Because, how many times do you have to keep bringing it back to my house? What part don't you understand? But he went off down the street and he punched some guy out and got himself arrested. But he's blaming my son for that. Right? Because the clothes sat out there because I said to my daughter, those are your boyfriend's clothes. I don't want anything to do with them. You fucking clean them up. You clean up that crap. That's it. Just stay the hell out of the basement. You're not allowed down there. You can't control yourself. So what's left out of those clothes, I don't know. And I don't really care because, you know what? He's had ample time to get them out of my freaking house. In my garage. I dropped them off for him 3 times, bagged them up and dropped them off. He kept dragging them back. Well, now he's making threats on my son to stab him. And he's making all these accusations against me while social workers are sitting there, oh, sign a piece of paper. We're not going to let that bitch have the baby because you're the daddy and we like you even though you're in a cell room for 23 hours of the day. And we know that you're a fucking schizophrenic that's like psychosis and a million other things wrong with you. But we're going to take it for face value because we like laying down with the devil. Because we do the devil's work. That's what we do. That's what we get paid for. That's what Christy Clark and her government pays us for, is the devil's work. So we're going to sick you, a sick human being, right, onto this family just so that we can keep the baby. And we're going to wheel around on May 9th to the judge. We got it signed by the daddy. By the daddy that he says it's okay that we have Andre for another X amount of time because the grandma's crazy. Well, you know what? He comes from the court system. He comes from the foster care system. He comes from the group home system. He comes from the system that these people perpetrate and are trying to perpetrate on my grandson. They are recreating what they've got right now. This is what they're setting my grandson up to be. Because they work for the devil. They do the devil's work. What kind of people sit up there in a jail cell with a lunatic that's been locked up 3 times, 23 hours out of a day, making a pack, right? Making a pack so that he's fuming mad. And all he can think about is coming back out of fucking jail and stabbing my son. Because that's what this is saying in these letters. He wants to stab my son. Because my son said, get out. It's not the first time my son has called the cops on this asshole to get him out of my fucking house. Not the first time I've called the cops on him to get him out of my fucking house. Since these professionals know what they're doing, why can't they fix this human being instead of sitting there manipulating him to get him pissed off? So the first thing he wants to think about is coming home and stabbing my son. Because of his clothes. Because the social workers don't like me and they want to keep Andre away. Right? So they're going to use the daddy, the alleged daddy. After they junked up my daughter. They just junked her up. She said to me, oh, I got nothing to try for. Nothing today. I don't know what the hell she was doing today. She was tearing my house apart. I did a little bit of yard work. I'm just coping. I am just coping with this. Because I know if I kick her out, like the social worker did, it's just going to spiral even more out of control. And she will die. Because that's what they have done. They have set my daughter up to die. She is dying right now every time she does the drugs that she's doing. Because the methadone isn't working. Because her spirit is broken. She misses her baby. And she's not stupid. She knows that sending him off to this program sitting up in fucking Abbotsford isn't going to solve the problem with the baby. Because they're just going to set her up to get her mad and take the baby away. And then Grandma will be sitting here saying, oh my God, oh my God. Because they do the devil's work. That's what these people do. They do the devil's work. What kind of people send idiot fucking lunatics that sit up in jail 23 hours a day in a cell by themselves and enrage them so that they want to get out and stab another human being? That's bullshit. Total fucking bullshit so they can get their little 3-month, supervision custody order over my grandson? Who are they thinking about? Obviously not my children. They have never been thinking about my children. And if they're not thinking about my children, how the heck can they be thinking about my grandson? They're not thinking about the mother. They're not thinking about my teenagers. They're not thinking about my son that goes to college, tries to do something with his life, be productive. All they're doing is trying to set him up so he can get freaking stabbed. So that they can say, oh, but Your Honor, he signed a piece of paper. He said we can have custody of Andre. But let him out so he can go burn down Jenny Charney's fucking house. These are sewer rats that we're dealing with. much evil in all my life as I have since I ran into these fucking, I don't know what they are. But I'm taking this shit to court. This is a direct threat against my family. This is an assault. This is terrorism. Why should I have to sit there worrying about my son walking down the fucking street because these social workers can't do their job and say, well, you know, Mr. Luck, it is your fault for going in the house in the first place. You should never have went there. You're not supposed to be there. You know that. Did my son make that bastard go down the street and start punching somebody out? No. So why don't these social workers, since they're such little good doers, sit up there and make this man take responsibility for the bullshit that he puts out on this community? For the terrorism that he puts on my fucking family. He stalks my daughter. And these idiot cops and idiot fucking professionals, they can't do jack shit about it. They just let him run around and just do what he wants. Until after he gets about 24, 25 more charges. And then they throw him in jail for about a month. Just for a fucking month. They're letting him out before court. From our understanding, because they're phoning up my daughter. My daughter says, I don't know why they're phoning me and letting me know that he's getting out of jail. I don't have a restraining order on him. Isn't it kind of convenient? Right? Have my son get stabbed before court? Well, we know where that came from. Mark this video. We know where it came from. Because they got this man sitting up there stewing, blaming my family for his fuck-ups, while they sit there and they blindside him, make him think that he's a father, so they can get their little 3 months so that they don't have to take responsibility for the bullshit that they spread out in the community when it comes to the devil's work. And that's the bottom line. I'm gonna see these bitches in court. You can mark my fucking words. Serious. Mark my fucking words.